Call me successful.
So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the next episode of Call Me Successful. Very excited today to have the one and only Cory Boyd with us today. Cory Boyd, welcome to the podcast.
No worries, Avi. Thanks so much for having us. Appreciate being here.
So it's been a long time coming, but we're excited to have you on. You've done a lot in your life, in your career. You've traveled a lot. You've had different roles. But I want to get into how did you get into real estate? And then I want to explore what your career has been so far. But how did you get into real estate, Cory?
I guess like a lot of agents, just accidentally fell into it. I think it was back in 2013 or 14, just after I got out of the army. Yeah, believe it or not, I actually was in the army.
We're going to get to that. We're going to get to that, yeah.
And then after I got out of the army, was just bouncing around a couple different jobs. And then just randomly a friend of mine suggested, why don't you give real estate a crack? You'd be pretty good at it. And then I jumped online, had a look at some courses. I was living at home with mum at the time, kind of feeling sorry for myself, and said to mum, how do you reckon I'd go at real estate? She's like, yep, give it a go. And I was like, okay, well, I've got to go do this course. Apparently it's like a 3-day course. It was like $800 or $900 and I didn't have any money. And she's like, oh, here's my credit card, go and just go do it. And then, went and did the course, and just after I finished the course, started going applying for jobs, and ended up getting a role in Browns Plains as an agent.
So going back to why the army? What made you go to the military?
There were a few different reasons, because I think it was about 2009 the GFC hit, and then mum was like, oh, you need a secure job. A couple of my relatives had gone in the Air Force and the Navy, and then I was like, oh, yep, cool. And then I went in and I just applied, and then it all happened so quick. I went in and applied, and then I think 4 weeks later, I was at basic training. I think it's because I had, clean bit of health. I was healthy, everything like that. And bang, there was opportunity to come up. And then, 4 weeks later, I had no idea anything to do with and then, I was straight in. And then,
where were you based? Just in Brisbane, or?
Yeah. So you go down, you do your basic training down in Wagga Wagga, and then I went to Melbourne and did all my recruitment training for the job that I was doing. And then after that, I got posted up here to Enoggera, and did finish my time out there. And so
It sounds like your mum's been a big influence in terms of military and real estate.
Mum's always been such a huge supporter of whatever I do. And coincidentally, after I got into real estate, one of the things I always wanted to do was huge goal. When I first started, I was like, I just want to earn $100,000. That was my big goal. I want to earn $100,000, and one day I want to be able to employ my mum. That was a goal that I wanted to do when I first started, and thankfully I was able to do that.
So did you get to 100,000? No.
Just. Thankfully I was able to do that and work with my mum for, I think it was about 4 or 5 years. I think it was. So.
Yeah. So how was your experience in real estate when you first started? Right. So did you know what we expected to do, or it just looked good?
Yeah, like it. I guess it. From back then, it was seen as like a very kind of respected kind of role. That was one thing that I was kind of looking for. I used to, when people used to ask me what I used to do, and if they said real estate, I'd be like, oh wow, I'd kind of be like, okay, kind of what's going on. So I guess but so when I joined, had zero expectations. I literally remember when I first went in for my interview, because I had no idea what really it was, and I didn't even know what a vendor was. Like, I didn't know any of that, and that's how green I was when I went and did the course, all of that. And then there was no, I guess back then, when I guess you probably started, I think probably a year or two before me, like there was no instruction manual of how to, a blueprint of how to be successful in real estate. It was just, here you go, Cory, here's a database from 2005. Go call them and see if there's some sellers in there. And I was like, okay, what do I say to them? Oh, just chat to them, and that was it. There was no ID for me. There was none of those technology things that we all have access to these days.
There was nothing.
There was nothing.
We had the phone book.
It was, and it was just, and you call, majority of them be disconnected, or they'd move from that address, 10 years earlier, and they'd be like, sorry, who are you? Like, where are you calling? Yeah. So
There was none of it.
yeah, there was none of that. Yeah.
So did you enjoy your first few months, or did you like have doubts about it, or like
Oh,
what?
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Like when you first started, it's definitely, wage wise, income wise, it's definitely a little bit concerning. I did always always have the vision of, if I do the work now, it will eventually pay off, and thankfully that did happen.
Yeah, wow. Okay, so what does the first day look like for Cory Boyd? Because were you a cold caller, a door knocker? What did you do to get?
Yeah, like there was no associates or anything like kind of back then. It was just straight into being a full time agent. As I said, we got we got given like a database, like an old paper database, and you just go through and highlight, the ones you've called, and there was no nurture cloud, there was none of that to really kind of track things. I did a little bit of door knocking. Believe it or not, one of my first ever door knocks, I just listed and sold from, I think it was like nearly 8 years ago. One of my first ones, I knocked on the door, and she's like, "Oh, we're not selling yet." And I think of probably about 6 months ago, I finally sold it. So
Yeah, wow.
yeah, so
Took 8 years.
yeah, it took
Yeah.
8 years. So it does work. So I did a little bit of door knocking, did a little bit of and calling basically when I first started. Pretty much where the office where I was working wasn't really big on social side of things. They did a little bit, but
They're big on it now.
yeah. yeah, I think so, yeah.
So for the viewers and the listeners, Cory and I started in the same office. So I was probably there for about 9 months before when Cory started. So one thing I admired about you is that there were questions. There was like a million questions from you, like on everything. You wanted to know everything. You were asking even the silliest questions. I remember people laughing at you because you asked so many questions. But look where it got you to. Like you had this like immense ability to just say, "Hey, how do I do this?" And a lot of people are not like that.
Yeah.
So, and I think you're still like that. You still ask questions.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of the questions I probably do ask, whilst probably sound very, very silly, but I guarantee there's probably a few other people that
Yeah.
probably want to know the same thing, but I just haven't
You
asked
just
the
happen to
question
ask it,
and
yeah.
save them the embarrassment.
Yeah. So you started at that Al Hooker office, and you started area Crestmead.
Yeah. I was
Yeah.
I was just fortunate. I was just given an area.
You were giving part of an area.
Yeah, I was
So
given
like it was like 900 homes or
Homes,
something
yep.
in an area where probably in the 900, 300 were community housing. So you really had 600 homes, and then you made something of it.
Yeah, like when I first started, yeah, as I said, we were given just this tiny little patch, and it was like highlighted and all the streets. So I went out, I drove the streets constantly. I knew all the streets, like to this day, and I always test my team with it. You got to know your area. Like I could literally tell you any street, what it runs off, anything in my area. Like you give me Trolson Drive, yep, cool. I'll tell you 4 streets that run off it, and then the streets that run off that. You've got to know your area because you've got to be seen as like the subject matter expert, and that's what I think I did really well.
So you just became hyper local, like you're living and breathing in your area. And nowadays we have agents that don't go to the areas for a week. Like I'm just like, how does this happen? Like, so what are you actually doing? You know?
Yeah. Like there's so many little things that I didn't realize that I used to do, which have actually worked out so well now. Like when I used to go drive my area, I used to always look for, because my area is like a very high investment area, and if I had some investors, the next door neighbor, or if the tenant like had left the property and they had like 6 or 7 cars out the front, I'd just be like, "Hey mate, look, I know you're not selling at the moment, but hey, just did a drive by your property, and look, if you might want to maybe get in touch with your property manager or something like that. Like, there's 6 cars out the front, and looks like there's a bit of damage. Not too sure if you're aware of that." And they always respected that, and I guess that's probably why I got a lot of business from that in the future because of that.
So why did you leave that role? What happened next?
At the time, why I transitioned from
Al
the
Hooker
yeah.
to say Ray White.
Yeah. At the time, I was pretty much just looking for a new opportunity somewhere. And the most funny thing, I was actually thinking about this the other day, is I asked so many different people for basically a chance and an opportunity, like some big big offices, and just nobody wanted to borrow me because I didn't have any runs on the board. Like, I think at the time I was probably maybe selling 4 or 5 properties a year. 2 of them were rental leads as well. Like, so it was, I didn't really have too many runs on the board. Nobody really knew who the hell I was. And yeah, so I was definitely looking for a new opportunity. Coincidentally, Avi Khan come knocking and said, "Hey, look, I'm going to open up this office in Marsden. I want you on my team." And I think a lot of people really underestimate just telling people that you want them on your team. Like, that is such a big thing. And I just felt like, okay, well, somebody wants me. Like, yeah, sure, I'll just go join an office that, 3 or 4 offices have failed before that in that exact area.
There was more than 3 or 4, but there's no one's actually been successful in that marketplace.
And when I think about that back, because I came from like a very that office that I come from was a thriving office for years and years and years and years. And then
it was a very solid office.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it was definitely a sliding door moment, but yeah, it was definitely a great decision.
Yeah, I remember meeting you. We sort of met at
the burrito bar.
Yes, at a burrito bar.
That was at Marsden.
Yeah, and then you asked me sort of like, so what's your vision? What do you want to do? And I'm like, I had just had a piece of tissue paper in front of me, and we wrote down everything we were going to do together.
Yeah.
And how are we looking now?
Yeah, it was funny because I remember you're like, yeah, cool, I want to get you to, I think it was Premiere and all this. And I was like, okay, cool, that sounds great. What the hell is that? And it's like, 30 properties a year. And I was like, oh, mate, like if I can do 10, mate, I'm stoked. Like if you can get me to 10, like that's, that'll really get me going. So, and, coincidentally, I think we basically hit everything that we were aiming for pretty much within the first 2 years, I think. So.
I think one of the issues were like when you had your previous place, and it was a great business, don't get me wrong, but like it's kind of death when you have 600 homes to market to and you can't do anything else. You kind of feel a bit suffocated.
Yeah, like
so we got
to
we got to look at like as principals, as agents. Like, I mean, if you're doing Indooroopilly or if you're doing New Farm, 600 homes is great. Because you've got the ability to sell and do well. But if you're doing a Logan area, 600 homes doesn't really get you anywhere. So you've got to play the market that you are.
Yeah.
And I think giving you the whole suburb, actually, you flourished.
Yeah.
Because now your knowledge, you're really hyper local in the whole suburb.
Yeah.
And that's led you to where you are today.
Yeah. Like I remember it was free reign. It was like, oh, sweet. So I can actually go drop this street now. And, it was, a little bit. Yeah, it was good just being able to have kind of no kind of restrictions on where I can and can't go in the area that I'm already marketing. So
yeah. So one of the things about you is that you're very, like, you're a great learner. You want to learn. You want to ask the questions. So who's apart from our business, like who's sort of you've looked up to, who's guided you in that? Because the early stages as well, like you got to say, I want to be this person. I want to be like this person. So what's kind of guided you along the way?
Yeah, very, very fortunate with Ray White. We do a lot of study tours these days, where we go up to some of the other big performing offices where we can meet a lot of the other agents. There's been so many people from all different offices, from New Zealand, and then you've got some from Rockhampton, Riley Neaton, David Bell. We go down to Sydney, you got Josh Teslin, and then Peter Diamantidis, all those guys, where we go down there and we can just see all the different things that they do, and you kind of just nitpick all the great things that they do, and then you kind of just mesh it all into your own style. So yeah, there's very fortunate. There's lots and lots of people that have definitely kind of formed my career.
So talking about style, right? So you've got your very unique style. So, I mean, even your Facebook is called Cory Circus.
Oh.
So it kind of like leads into like your personality, your demeanor, and how you like to, you're the guy who likes to have fun.
Yeah.
You're pretty serious with what you do, very serious, in fact, but you have a bit of like a fun element to it. Where does that come from? And like, talk to us about the videos and everything else you're doing. That kind of like, it's kind of very jovial and it lives to the name of Cory Circus.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the reason why I've managed to do pretty well is they always talk about that authenticity, and you've got to really be yourself, and that's really all I've kind of done. And what I've tried to do is put a little bit of a little bit of fun and a little bit of light into what we do, because I always just kept seeing everything was just so serious, like, come have a look at this property, and it was always just so serious. Whereas, I try to be real with people and try and make it fun and a little bit entertaining, because if you can kind of do that, then, you're gonna expose the property a lot more if you can add a little bit of entertainment, add a little bit of fun to it, and you're gonna get more views doing it that way. If you just keep it like everyone else is doing, it's not gonna do that. And my mentality is, look, that my owner's paying good money for this video. We can run the exact same ad and I can get 500 views, or I can try and do something a little more and try get 10, 15, 20,000 views, because it's still costing the seller the same amount. So I may as well try and
So how do you convince your seller though? Like you do get a lot of heat online for some of the stuff that you do, but how do you convince your seller that this is the best way to market their property?
it's the whole idea of the video is to try and get eyeballs on the property. That is the whole idea of it. And I'll say, and I'll give an examples. Hey, look, I can, do cookie cutter, straight down the line. Yep, come through, have a look at this property. Let's go take a look. Great. Yep, we'll probably get no doubt we'll probably get 500-600 views on the property, or we can do something a little bit left field. This is kind of my idea. And majority of the time they're always like, okay, great. And I show them proven results from my previous videos and they're like, okay, yeah, wow, that's actually kind of cool and engaging. Yeah, we're happy, and a lot of the times if the seller's listing with me, they kind of already know that anyway. And a lot of the times they're just, okay, you just do your thing. And just free reign pretty much, a lot of them.
So take me through one of the videos that you did was The Great Escape. Is it The Great Escape?
The Greatest Showman.
Greatest Showman.
The
Sorry,
Greatest Showman.
The Greatest Showman. And that was linked to it was a Great Escape at the end. That was linked to the property breaking the Australian auction record of the most bidders.
Yeah.
How many people viewed that video?
Oh, that got up in the millions.
Millions.
That one, yeah. I don't know the exact. I think it was like 2.4 million.
That's
across
insane.
all the socials.
Yeah. It was on Domain. It was on Channel 9.
Yeah, it was on all TikToks. It was, and the majority of the people that come through the property all seen it on TikTok, which is a bit of a, most people it's always, Instagram and Facebook, but a lot of them came
So
through.
that's a way of like showing the criticism, like, hey, look, there's 1 million views on it.
Yeah.
And then and it's an auction record for the most bidders.
Yeah.
And what actually happened with the campaign? Run us through it.
Yeah, so it was so pretty much what happened. The seller basically left it vacant for quite some time. I think it was a couple of years, and during that time, some kids got in there, vandalized it, and then unfortunately, the seller didn't have any insurance on the property. He just said, "Yeah, cool. I've just got to get whatever I can. I don't." Unfortunately have the funds to fix it. Just sell it for whatever you can. We suggested, we definitely got to take it to auction. We then did a calculated no reserve auction. So a lot of people, when they hear no reserve auction, yes, absolutely, you can definitely rock up, and if you're the only person there and you can buy it for like $1 or $5. However, we pitched to the owner that we're going to do a no reserve auction, but we already had people there ready to go that were going to pay the amount that he was happy to probably take. So it was a bit of a marketing ploy to be able to generate that.
So we knew these people because they were making offers prior.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they could see the evidence of, hey, this is where the offers are at the moment.
Yep.
And this was a guide for us to say, hey, everyone's sort of like in a similar level.
Yeah.
Let's go take it to auction.
Let's and the seller had the balls to go through with it and said, okay, yep, cool, let's run with the no reserve auction. It blew up on socials, on news, it was on everywhere, and I think it was like 2 days before the auction we got an offer of like 340,000, and the seller was like, yeah, let's take it. And I'm like, I think we can get more. Like, let's just, worst case scenario, I'm going to get 340,000 on the day. This bidder's probably going to bid that. Let's just run its course and let's just see what the process is. And, thankfully, I think it's sold for 495,000. So yeah,
it was way above what any one of us expected.
Yeah.
But then the seller and you held your nerve, knowing there's other people out there that will pay more.
Yeah.
And it worked out.
Yeah.
And as a result, how was it, 161 bidders on the day?
Yeah, it was like,
insanity.
106. Yeah, it was funny because like the day before, I go to my team, they're like, oh, how many bidder regos do you want? I'm like, we thought we'd get between 60 and 70 people. So I was like, just print 100. I was feeling jovial, just print 100. I was feeling good. And then, 5 minutes before the auction, they're like, yeah, we're at a bidder regos. And I'm like, what do you mean? we're at a bit of regos, and there's still a lineup of people trying to register.
Yeah, no, I think there's people driving to the office
Yeah.
to get another 60 registration.
Yeah.
Because we've never experienced that
Yeah.
anyway. Like
Yeah.
you're a very
Streets were shut down. It was,
prepared agent,
Yeah.
but you can't prepare for something like that.
yeah, no.
Yeah. No, it's good.
Definitely a highlight.
I think that was definitely the highlight for me as well as a principal to see that coming to fruition. And then you picked up other listings from it, like
Yeah,
Peak of
I still
Sword.
pick up listings from it.
Yeah.
Still to this day. Like I just saw another one along that street probably 4 months ago. And they're like, oh yeah, we seen, if you can get that for, and they always say the same thing. Oh, well, if you can, get that price for that property, mine's worth such and such, come have a look. Still
Yeah,
get that
wow.
all the time.
So traditional marketing, traditional prospecting is that what does your team do now?
Yeah. So I've got two associates now. One basically on the fringe of being a co-agent, where they basically do all their own prospecting. I divide my listings up between the two of them, and they're responsible for the prospecting of the listings that they get. So once it's sold, they do all the prospecting in and around that street. They do all the just listeds. They do all the marketing as well. So that way, nothing gets missed.
So what does it look like for the Cory Boyd team going forward? Like where do you want to take this?
Ideally, if we can just stay consistent, I think that's one of the big things in real estate is trying to be consistent. I've been pretty fortunate we've been able to each year, just get better. I think probably next year if we can, maybe dabble into that chairman's elite, which is once again another level up. I think I'll probably have to, cancel a few holidays or something like that to to be able to get to that level.
Can you tell us about this holiday thing? It's a good question around it because you believe in like work-life balance and you're doing it pretty well in most cases. Like there's some months obviously it gets hectic, but like travel is your thing. Like that's your thing outside of real estate. Like where did that come? Is it from the military days or has it just been there?
It was like it probably only started in the last maybe 4 or 5 years. I traveled a little bit before that, but I where it kind of started, I don't have a partner. I'm by myself. I'm an only child as well.
Is that advertising to the
No. No, definitely not. But I don't have kids. I don't have family really. So I like to just go to random countries. I've got some pretty crazy goals like personal life that I want to try and do with my travel side of things. And
top 5 countries you've been to?
top 5, probably Croatia, Ireland, Bosnia, Amsterdam.
Is Amsterdam a country?
Netherlands. And probably there's so many. I think I'm up to like 43 now.
Yeah.
Japan's pretty good as well. Cat's out of the bag with Japan. Everyone's in Japan lately.
Yeah, everyone seems to be going there. It's actually the opportune time to be there at the moment.
But it's what I absolutely love to do. And the thing is that you learn so much when you go and travel. Like that's what a lot of people don't realize. When you go and travel, you learn to realize how little your problems are. That's why I think when I kind of come back here, contract crash, yeah, cool, it sucks, but it's not the end of the world. When you go to some of these countries, you really see I have nothing to complain about. Like when you go to some of these third world countries, these war-torn countries, and then you come back and you're like, I got nothing to complain about whatsoever. So I think that's one thing that I've definitely gotten out of travel is perspective, and your problems aren't that big.
Yeah. So, mate, your rise has been epic. It's been pretty quick. You've been having fun along the way. You've been dominating your marketplaces. You've got great people. You're building leaders in your own team. But what does success look like for Cory Boyd? And now it's not Cory Boyd, right? It's the Cory Boyd team. Like, what does success look like for you and your team?
I think success is definitely perspective for me. I think when you can go to sleep at night with your head on the pillow and
The pillow.
when you can go to sleep at night with your head on the pillow without having to worry too much. That's a really big thing for me is just being able to have peace of mind and being able to wake up and potentially go do what you want to do when you want to do it. It's not so much a number in a bank account. It's not how many properties or anything like that. To me, it's just having peace of mind and being proud of what you do. That's really the big thing for me.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, I think you have got a lot of peace of mind right now, and you're doing great things, and you're traveling, you're having fun, and can't wait to see where the successful Cory Boyd and your team leads to. So, thank you so much for being on the podcast today, Cory Boyd.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Avi.
Thank you, mate.
Yes.